I've been anticipating what's been going on with 3.6 for a bit now. I thought a fun little challenge to do would be to think about all the characters from a lore perspective that have been released currently, and rank them accordingly. I don't want to base it on their in-game kits, because all the characters that they introduce to us in order to, get the game to make more money, they are going to market them to us regardless of how story-wise strong they are. All of them are going to be playable to a different extent. Some of the characters that are playable, to me, make 0 sense. Others make absolute sense, and that's why I want to kind of go over this. This is just some random tier list for the upcoming version that someone made that includes these two. I am not going to include repeat characters on the list because it's pointless. I'd rather go by the character at their strongest or current level. So, we'll start with the Trailblazer. I'll just use their Remembrance one. I'm just going to move them around here, kind of middle of the list, because I think the Astral Express both possesses high amounts of combat potential, because they're able to travel to other worlds and are somewhat prepared for certain combat situations, but are they the strongest people we've seen in this series? No. Arlan. I'm putting him at a C because he's meant to have a role that's related to defending the Hertz space station, meaning he's gotta have some combat prowess. But does he compare to the external forces that could turn up? He literally ended up injured by the Antimatter Legion. He wasn't equipped fully to face them. That area is a research facility. I doubt that they were expecting powerful intergalactic forces to come and attack. Asta. She's bordering a civilian. She is a lead researcher in this area, in her space station. That doesn't equal significantly powerful or having any ability for combat. She's intelligent, yes. She has resources, yes. But does that make her able to take out, other humans, let alone anything higher up? I don't know. We've never really seen a reason to believe it. Bailu. I'd say she's higher than a civilian, really, considering her healing potential and her capability to use electricity that is canon, and her likely previous incarnation being Heng, who was a very powerful archer who was capable of being involved in a battle that killed, quote-unquote, killed an emanator of abundance, is quite significant. But that doesn't mean she is competent in combat in her current incarnation, but she is capable of defending herself better than most. Bronya. Above Arlan. She is a militant. She is prepared for forces that were even beyond her world, because, we had remnants of what happened with the destruction on her world. I'd say that makes her quite decent. Clara. She's a child. Unless we're including Svarog as well, but I'd personally rank him separately, and I'd rank him around the higher end of this area, to be honest. Dan Heng, I am going to go for this variant because I think it matters. He is not going there. He's the train guard. His whole purpose on the Express is to defend the train. And he accompanies us out of the train into other worlds where he has been a significant asset to have with us. And I'm just going to move other characters where they're repeats, just because I don't want to have to repeat characters. Like in Bailu Lune, I think that the new version is likely going to be stronger, because he's gradually improving as time goes on. And I don't really want to rank characters that aren't specific to Star Rail's story, because I don't know how I'd even go about ranking them. Next one I want to rank is actually going to be Welt. I am going to put him not there. I'm either going to put him before or after Dan Heng, and I'm going to actually say in front of Dan Heng on the power scale. I think he's probably stronger than Dan Heng is. He has a storied history from Honkai Impact 3rd. He is able to reconstruct his body from pretty much almost nothing, and has pushed himself beyond his limits countless times for the sake of humanity. Ever since he was a boy, he was constantly caught up in matters ever since he inherited the core. He no longer has that core exactly, but it has permanently changed this man. Is he in his prime anymore? Probably not, because his prime would have been back when he possessed the core, and was probably younger, as much as his physical condition hasn't worsened, because we know, canonically, this guy, he keeps up with himself. He keeps trying. I'd say that Dan Heng has the potential to maybe eventually surpass Welt, but I don't know if that's currently the case, and I don't want to claim it's the case now. Himeko. I don't think she's very combat-oriented, and I don't think she needs to be. I think she could probably hold her own down in a fight. But do I think that she is reaching the same level as someone who's gotten onto multiple paths, someone who has always had an affinity towards a specific path and is capable of quite extreme bursts of power, parting an entire sea, and someone who has spent almost their entire life fighting against something that basically wanted to kill everything he cared about? I'm a little hesitant to say yes on that one. Hook. She's a child. She's a civilian child who doesn't even have a robot with her like Clara does. She's a kid. No. This guy. His weapon puts him at a disadvantage against Bronya because Bronya can just shoot from range. But I think that he's better equipped for combat by miles than Arlan. Natasha, she's a healer. I'd actually put her either here or here because she's shown herself as being able to actually go into a fight. It's just, do I think that that's something that she'd optimally want to do? No, probably not. Yet again, Pela, she's another member of the Silvermane Guard. Even if combat isn't a specific area, I feel like the Silvermane Guards as an organisation, considering the situation Eurilo 6 was under, is better prepared than her space station's guards and stationing. Qingque, she's a civilian. I don't know if she'd be worse prepared or better prepared than Asta. I'm gonna say worse. I'm gonna say she's higher up than the children, but I don't know how equipped she is really. Sampo. He's a huge question mark. There are quite a lot of theories, actually, about this guy. I'm actually gonna just add a row below, and I'm just gonna call it... Get off of that, please. And let's just say the colour can be like this ugly purple, just because it stands out. We don't know where this guy's at. We've never really known exactly what's going on with Sampo. There's a lot of assumptions about him, though. His capability to travel between worlds. We know he's a masked fool, but how far does that go? Because we've actually heard a Boot Hill mentioning an instance where he met an emanator of elation, and the only reason he found out was because the guy got drunk. Otherwise, he wouldn't have known. It's not impossible for Sampo to be an emanator. It's also possible he's not, and he's just a normal masked fool, but the amount of times he's turned up and the amount of times he's just displayed to have more information than the cast seems to, makes him a little suspicious. Serval, she was a part of the Silvermane Guards in a specific area of them, more an engineer, so I'd say she's bordering more so being on civilian level, kind of akin to Asta. How I'd rate them would go either way. I could realistically flip them and it'd make just as much sense. I still think that she's more equipped than Asta for a fight, though. Sushang, she's part of the Cloud Knights. She is a soldier. Even if she's a clumsy soldier, she is still a soldier. I think that it's actually going to rank her quite a bit highly above the others. I'd actually put her here, to be honest. The starting rank would be here, but I think that the Xianzhou and the conflicts that they get involved in are far more significant than anything Eurilo 6 has faced. I think that anyone from the Xianzhou who is involved with combat has an innate advantage over most of the factions we could probably come across. Why? Because that's kind of what their ships do. They go around fighting the abundance. Tingyun, I'm gonna rank her as this version, and she's a weird card as well, because there is permanent damage done to her body by her interactions with Fantilia and the reconstruction of her body. She could have very interesting potential when it comes to the utilization of what happened to her body. We know she wants to use what happened to her as a way to fight back, but we don't know what that would entail in combat, and that's why I don't really feel comfortable about marking her out. Yanqing. I'm just gonna, like, put him here as much as... I don't want to rank him on the level of the Express because I don't think he's actually there. Dan Heng could probably kick his ass. I think even we might be able to. Outside of that, though, he's shown marginal improvement, and I think what happened with Hula... Actually. I'll be fair. I think that he'll be above Himeko, but I don't know if he's above any of the others that are currently in that section. Why? Because Dan Heng, he kind of threatened to fight with Dan Heng before, and I think all of us were confident he'd lose. Even if he's improving in combat, I don't think he's at the level yet where he's going to be facing down Legends of the Xianzhou. And Dan Heng's previous incarnation was definitely one of those. And Dan Heng is literally an unsuccessful, not even complete hatching rebirth or shedding of Dan Feng. So he's at minimum kind of matching that sort of strength. And I also don't think his combat style is equipped to even remotely face Dan Heng. While Kayla / Stell / the Trailblazer, I think that they're becoming more exposed to more combat situations than Yanqing is because of, our interactions with different worlds. Especially, Amphoris. Amphoris has been the most perilous journey yet. And they're constantly improving. Seele, as much as I dislike her, I'm gonna say around... I'm kind of inclined to put her here. Because she's more... She plays by less rules and has less restrictions about how she can fight than an actual soldier. Soldiers have to follow protocol. Seele doesn't really, and I think that actually gives her an advantage. Jing Yuan. He's potentially an emanator. We don't know what level of strength he's on, but he is a general of one of the biggest forces in the entire cosmos. You don't get that way by doing nothing, and he's been involved in legendary battles as well. I don't know. I think that it'd be silly to think that he's not, bypassing the Express or bypassing his subordinate. The only thing I want is direct confirmation that the Charioteers are emanators of the Hunt, because we actually still don't have that confirmation. If that's the case, I think it could increase him and all the other generals by a significant margin. Until we have that confirmation, though, I'm not sure. Silverwolf. I'd say here. She is not the most combat-oriented. I don't think ranking her on actual strength is basically doing her much justice, because I think that she is in the Stellaron Hunters for her utility, her capability of hacking, her understanding of certain situations. She fills a gap that the rest of the Stellaron Hunters possess, and that's important because it actually gives her the opportunity to shine in ways that they never could, and it makes for a more balanced organisation to do what quote-unquote Destiny's Slave or Elio wants them to. And we know they've all been collectively involved in some really significant incidents like the Japella Uprising, which ended up actually giving power to the Everflame Mansion, which, Acheron may have murked, but that's not the point. Their input into those events changed the situation significantly. Same goes with what happened with the Xianzhou Luofu and their Stellaron crisis, quote-unquote. Luocha, we don't know. The assumption is he could be an emanator of abundance. There's also the assumption that he is just very deeply entrenched with the abundance. His combat doesn't reflect his capability, but the fact he is with Jingliu and the fact he possesses the remains or part of the propagation's body is highly concerning. He's just casually carrying that and planned alongside her to slay a god. They want the abundance dead. I'm interested to see if in the future he gets an alt, like gets an SP variant that's really buff and explains the full level of strength he's on. But until then, I can't confidently comment on how strong I think this man is. Yukong, definitely, I'd say ranging between, like, I'd say hereish, to be honest. As much as it pains me to say that Yanqing might actually be stronger than her now, I wouldn't have said that at the start. But Yanqing did do some work against Hule, so I can't fault him too hard. But it be what it be. Blade, he's borderline unkillable. I want to put him, I think he's above the Express by quite a significant margin, because regardless of how good he is with a sword, which we know he's good with, how do you kill him? The best methods I've got is putting him on a dying star, which I'm pretty sure is one of the Xianzhu's actual punishments for convicts. But outside of that, if there's any bit of him remaining, he's potentially just gonna come back and keep swinging. That's concerning. Like, come on. Kafka, I'd put her significantly above the Express. Her reputation precedes her with the highest wanted reward out of all the Stellaron hunters. Her capability to manipulate people subconsciously, and her prowess with weaponry. She makes it look effortless. She is highly concerning. Just, she doesn't have the advantage of Blade, where he can basically just keep coming back and getting back up. Eventually, fill Kafka with enough, stabs or bullets, she will die. And I think that's kind of the line here of why I'd say Blade has the unfair advantage ahead of the Stellaron hunters. Even if he's not the best in combat himself, good luck killing him. Because the best way you can sort a fight is maybe killing your opponent before they attack you. You can't do that with this man. Or at least it seems that way. This boy, I'm sorry, Luka. I'd put you... Canonically, I'm pretty sure he was beneath even Gepard, so I am gonna put him there. Oh, God. I'm so sorry, girl. You're not combat-oriented, but I respect you. I'm gonna put you here. The whole purpose of her shtick is she's not for combat. She reads into the future. She's not a civilian. She works as part of the Xianzhu, and her aims, she has aspirations to become a general. Actually, it feels a little offensive. I'll do it this way. Because I don't know if she's had as much combat experience as Natasha has, but she is also part of the Xianzhu. But if I'm marking it in that case, then I should realistically move them maybe a little bit here. This feels a little less offensive. Yeah, no, we've got no chance here. Lynx, I'd maybe even put you I'd put you. You have survival skills, though, but Asta would realistically possess some of that intellect as well. I'm gonna put her here. Jingliu, we know that she's traumatized Blade. If anything, I'm gonna put her here. We know that she trained Jing Yuan and is capable of beating him. We also know, though, that Jing Yuan did beat her. But I think the Mara undoes some of her restraints, and I also think she has less sentimentality towards her opponents than Jing Yuan has. And I think that limits him. And we know that Blade is highly concerned about this woman. Highly. And it's fair. Just, Topaz, she's possessing a cornerstone that is part of the authority of an Emanator preservation. I think it's fair to assume that, considering we saw what Aventurine could do, he could utilize a transformation from his cornerstone, that Topaz could perhaps do the same thing. She may not be a true Emanator, just like Aventurine isn't, and just like Jade isn't. The only one technically that could be considered that out of the IPC's marketing division is Diamond, because he's the one who split his original authority into pieces. But that's still not anything to laugh at. I don't want to undersell just how strong they could be. At most, I'd maybe move her slightly down. I'll see how I continue with the ratings. Guinafen. She's a civilian. She's... She escaped a really bad situation on her homeworld that she assumes there's no life left on. So she has clear survival skills. But she is a civilian by every stretch of the word. Hua. She's a judge who... Well, yeah, no, it's fair to say that. She is a judge who encounters the quote-unquote supernatural within the Xianzhou and handles certain affairs that are quite grisly, actually. With Tail, I would put her maybe... I'd put her around here, to be honest. I think that even though she herself is a coward, Tail being a part... Like, Tail is possessing her actual tail, and he is a powerful Heliobi. I think it's fair to give her some props on what sort of capability she could have. I think that some of the other judges are likely far stronger than she is, but I think that her starting off at a high C is kind of fair, unless anyone disagrees. Argenti, I'd put him around here-ish, to be honest. I don't know who would beat the other in a fight when it comes to Argenti and Yanqing, but I do think it's between these two. I am going to put him here because he travels the cosmos alone, which is dangerous. He's not taking the easy route on how he goes about his business. He's seeking out the beauty, and we know he's good with a weapon because he's supported us before. We know he's respectable, though, and I think his platitudes will hold him back against certain enemies. Hanya, I'd say that she's probably more capable of stabbing something than Hua is, but I also don't think she's the combat-orientated one. Her sister is definitely above her. Ruan Mei, that's an interesting one. Because is she combat-orientated to me? No. Does she create highly concerning things, though? Yes. Yes, she does. She worries me. I'm gonna put her... I'm more worried about this woman than I am about most of the people who are, like, entering this category. Do I think that she could realistically get in a fist fight with some of these people? No. But do I think some of the things she could create could highly hurt them, if not kill them? Yes. Ratio. I'm gonna put him... I don't think he has the combat experience, but I think he has the knowledge to do some dangerous things. Black Swan. So, the thing about Memo Keepers is they're in a very weird spot. They're capable of doing some real harm to a person by manipulating their psyche, and we know that Memoria can cause borderline permanent brain damage, if not do worse things to a person. Like, borderline brain damage is like the minimum. It does not take much exposure to Memoria to cause someone permanent harm. And these are emanators who actively are involved with Memoria. And she did involve herself and even risk her own existence digging into Acheron's memories. She's ballsy if nothing else. I do think she's quite dangerous, or she could be if she wanted to be. I'm going to put her a low A. Sparkle. She's an interesting one. Do I think that she is hiding things from us relating to her combat potential? Probably. Within Acheron's trailer, Sparkle created an illusion of the Stellaron Hunters to fight Acheron. I do believe it's fair to consider that a part of her combat potential. And I think that's the defining bit for me. Meanwhile, Acheron, I don't even think anyone can... I'm not doing it there. That's not the aim. I am going to move some of these around because I just think it's going to be easier. But Acheron's position is just too good, to be honest. That girl is powerful. She's incredibly capable. She cut a section of the dreamscape and caused it lasting damage. She was capable of being completely unaffected by Enna's dream, which matters The nihility is believed to be able to corrupt people, which is why she's on the IPC's wanted list, because they assume that the worst case scenario, she is going to be causing people permanent damage just by coming into contact with them. We know that she's a sweetheart and willing to do a lot for others, but the IPC doesn't care. Whether it's for their own benefit or to get rid of something they perceive as actually dangerous. And that matters, because the distinction to me is that they are unwilling to negotiate on whether or not they think she is a good thing to have around. Misha, or Mikhail, our boy, he was a part of the Express. He takes the form of a young boy now, but he was involved with the prison, freeing Asdana, which would have involved a lot of combat. So I think it's fair to rank him around here, because in his prime, he would have been involved on the front lines to help the people there. Aventurine, same kind of situation as Topaz. I'm actually going to scroll this, but I think that he's more combat oriented than her. Gallagher, he was involved with fighting for Asdana as well in a different sense. I think that it's fair to say that he, at current stage, would be at least stronger than Misha is at present. Would I want to move him higher than officials in the Xianzhe? Maybe not. Robin. She's a weird one, because she is capable. We know that the way that the family's emanators work is that they are manifestations of Gepard that appear inside of any member of the family. Technically, any family member can be an emanator. But there are some that are seemingly preferential to others, who are more capable of housing those powers. And I think that she is likely going to be one of them. Based on what we've currently seen, with her willingness to help break the dream, I'd put her beneath Himeko. I think that she is capable of defending herself in ways that aren't shooting or stabbing someone, using the resonance of the harmony. And I think that that is a utility skill that is going to prove very useful, and if she shows any potential of being possessed in the future by an emanator of harmony, she will move up immediately. Boot Hill. Galaxy Rangers go into dangerous situations. They are capable. I think it's fair to put him around here. Did he ever have a shot against Acheron? God, no. But would it have been a fun fight to watch? Yes. Firefly. I think that she is far more destructive than Kafka. I think that she has less utility than Kafka. But she has more firepower at her disposal. But I also think she's capable of doing herself more harm. So between her and Kafka, I don't know who I'd rank higher. I think that Kafka has more utility in general that makes her able to do what she wants to with far less risk. But I think that, based on what we know, they send Sam into the worst situations and it's normally a bloodbath. So I do want to leave things as is. But if you want to tell me that Kafka is stronger than Firefly, I'm all in on that. And I'm not going to really argue against it. To me, these two are interchangeable. Jade. Similar situation to Aventurine, but I think she's going to be way more powerful than him. Some of the deals and controls that she has of other people within the series, based on what we know, matters. She is crafty. Far craftier than most of the other characters we've met. I'll be interested to see eventually when she uses the authority of her cornerstone and what that does to her capabilities. Just like I'm interested in what could happen with Topaz. I don't want to undersell how powerful these people could be. If anything, I will move one of the ratings around a little bit because I do think it's kind of fair. Based on current ratings, I'd maybe push Topaz here. The other two... Because it's emanators we're talking about, though, I don't want to be too hasty, but the thing is I have also ranked Jingliu above Jing Yuan, and he could potentially be one, so I think it's fair to move Topaz. Topaz, I'm pretty sure it was mentioned before that not all the cornerstones are combat oriented, and I'm pretty sure that Topaz's isn't, so I think it's kind of fair to move it around. I think that this guy's going to be weaker than Jing Yuan. She, though, concerns me to a degree that's not even funny. I'd say maybe here for safety and security, because unlike with Acheron, who has displayed the true mantle of power of an emanator, I'd say that in a way, the closest display we've had to an emanator preservation's power being shown off is Aventurine, and I don't think even he showed off really what sort of power we'd be looking at. Yunli, where is... I hate to say this, but I do think that she's weaker than Yanqing, considering he did the final blow on Hule. Well, quote-unquote final blow. One of the most significant blows before Fei Xiao cleaned up. Oh, this poor Fox. He makes me sad because he's wounded and he worked so hard, man. I want to put him around here-ish for respect. I don't want to disrespect this guy's name ever. I appreciate him too much. I'll say here. Fei Xiao, I doubt I really need to. I'm not there. I'm saying it's either her and Jingliu. I'm gonna put her above Jingliu right now because we've seen a lot come from this fox. But damn, I want to see these two fight. Lynx, she's a healer. In gameplay, she's able to shoot people quite hard. But in actual combat situation, I think she's above some of the other healers, but I don't know by how much. I'd consider her less than some of the soldiers. I'd say it's fair to kind of put her around here-ish. I don't want to disrespect Xuan, so I will put her here. Moza, combat-oriented assassin, I'd say between these two. I could probably put them as quite interchangeable. He's the right hand of a general, though. No, I need to move him up. There's no way I can leave him down there. No way. I'd say he's probably above both of them. Maybe above... I'd say maybe here-ish. Rapper. She's going up quite high. I'd say she actually has some advantages over Boothill in the fact that she can't be affected by mimetic viruses. That's quite significant, to be honest. And she has innate capabilities because she was purposefully created to be this powerful entity. And yeah, she is. I don't know if it'd make her not able to be subjected to what Kafka's doing, though, so I don't actually want to rank her higher. Sunday. He was able to be possessed by an emanator of harmony and to almost reawaken an Aeon. That's quite a milestone, I won't lie. I'm gonna put him up here. The Herta. She is an emanator of erudition. We don't know exactly what that entails for her in a combat prowess, but I don't feel comfortable putting an emanator beneath her. Just because she just straight up is one. We know a list of her accomplishments in the universe. She has saved multiple worlds. Yes, we only really get to see her talk, but we're literally in the middle of a situation where she is actively helping us. Without her and Screwlin, we'd be pretty screwed. So I'm gonna put her around... I'll put her here for the sake of safety, because I don't know if she's going to have combat prowess specifically from being an emanator of erudition. We've seen what Ligus could do, though, and he's an emanator of erudition. Aglaya, she's above your average citizen. She's involved with the governance of Okima specifically. She's less combat-oriented than the others, but her abilities aren't anything to scoff at. She seems... Like, we know she has swordsmanship. We know she was trained by Hyselin, so she's definitely not weak by any stretch. The situation that her and her companions are facing is intensive enough that I'd consider them more powerful than some of the other characters we've come across. They're actively being involved in... They're in a war, essentially, against the destruction. That matters. I'm gonna put her above some of these other characters. I think it's kind of fair. I'd say around here-ish, honestly. Maybe here. I'll put her here for now. Treeby. She is not combat-oriented at all. She is utility-focused. I would put her lower. I'd put her kind of this sort of ballpark. I'll put her here for now, because Robin hasn't shown much combat potential canonically in the fights that we've seen. Mighty. Undying. He has the kind of caveat that pushes him higher, I think, into the A category. Low A, but still A. I think that he's capable of being manipulated. I'd put him beneath the Emanators, though. Castoris. Essentially deaf. I'm kind of tempted to put a hero here. And I'm inclined to put her here. Anaxa, he's not actually that combat oriented at all. I'm gonna put him kind of similar ballpark. I'm gonna put him around here. Hyacinth, not combat oriented at all, but she got exposure to what's going on, and with the authority of Aquila, and we know that she transformed into the equivalent of Aquila and assumed the same body that Seliosi did, I'd say that she's a lot higher than the other healers by quite a significant margin. I'd say being able to possess the corpse of a Titan puts her quite high. Cypher. Utility-based again. She has a little bit of combat experience, but I'd actually put her... I don't know if I'd put her on this even on par. But her lies... The fact that she can lie and make something true and prevent what Lygus was doing and hold the fort down is pretty immense. I don't want to put her lower than a B because of her accomplishment. I'm half tempted to, like, move her upwards. I'd say around here, honestly. She impressed me. Finn, oh my god. He's not... Between these two, I don't know which one, because he was able to scratch Nanook's face. Scratching Nanook's face is an accomplishment. But I think that his loss to Zephyro makes me concerned, because the reality is I think that Acheron would have a better match against Zephyro than he does. And that's worrying. Because that means that, in a way, in the correct circumstances, do I think that Acheron could beat Fanon? Yeah, I do. And the event even jokingly said that she had maxed out stats aside from one, and he did not. So just by that, I'm gonna just loosely leave it there. For combat, I'm gonna put... Hysolins doesn't have the utility of these two. I think that she's beneath Mighty and Castoris, but I think that she's above her companions. I'd maybe be inclined to put her here, to be honest. Ceredra, she is not combat oriented. She is on par with these three. And I'd put her above them only because she's more willing to be merciless. The last character. She's not going here. Now I've got to explain why. She is shown eating Amphorius. She is actively hiding from Lygus, completely ignoring his stuff. He's not able to restrict her doing anything seemingly in Amphorius. She's just doing her own thing. And at minimum, she's an emanator of remembrance in my mind. I find it hard to believe she won't be. She's actively tilted the situation in our favour more than once because she purposefully saved... She saved Serene. We saw the jellyfish manifest, and then both the jellyfish and Serene disappeared when Lygus turned up. And then, when returning the core flame to us, she rigged the situation. And that was after getting us out of the exomyth. It's silly to assume that March is less than an emanator at this point. It'd be a really hard sell. And it's not even just that she's the level of an emanator, because all the memo keepers are apparently emanators. She's above them by miles. She dismissed them. She dismissed the memo keepers that were trying to interfere with us. To me, it feels like a really hard sell to claim that she is less. So yeah, now I just want to revise over my decisions. I want to go by question mark of the people that I don't know where to rank them because we just haven't seen enough. D is bordering civilians in all of the cases, and I'm kind of tempted to actually move Bailu a little bit down. I'd say move Bailu here, move Natasha maybe here. Or at the bottom end of this, because she is an actual soldier. Bailu, I maybe need to see a little bit more from. If she is able to grow and actually utilize the full power of the High Elder of the Vidyadhara in the Xianzhou Luofu, she'd move up. Natasha's a healer who has involvement with wildfire. Lynx is a healer who has shown herself as capable in the situations of going face to face with a preceptor who was actively taking hostage one of her own. I might move her slightly. Xuan, she's capable of knowing the future. She got involved with Kafka, which matters. Arlan is kind of the head of security of her space station. Pela is a Silvermane guard / soldier. Luka puts us all into combat and was mentioned to be able to fight Gepard even if he lost. So I'd say that puts him above Pela. Gepard, he beat Luka and he's a captain of the Silvermane Guard. Bronya, she's the leader of the Silvermane Guards at this point and the leader of Belobog as it stands. Seele, less restricted by command protocol when it comes to combat, unlike the Silvermane Guards, and we see her facing against Bronya and working with Bronya. Sushang, soldier for the Xianzhou Luofu. The Xianzhou Luofu are powerful. They have active experience with going against forces that are far more powerful than anything that was experienced in Uriel 06. Hua, one of the judges of the Ten Lords Commission. Ten Lords Commission handles some of the most concerning affairs of all of Xianzhou. Hanya, her superior in the Ten Lords Commission. Ratio, his intelligence and the fact that he likely travels makes me assume that he'll have some amount of combat experience. I might move him below Hanya because there's no guarantee. Her sister, she's the one who actually goes into combat situations, so I think it's fair to put her here. Hyacinth, able to manifest into essentially quote-unquote Aquila. She's able to become physically the same entity. We faced Aquila. We know Aquila is strong. Robin, we have not seen much on her combat potential, but we know she is able to resonate with the harmony, and we know that there is the very real potential that she could become an emanator of harmony based on if one of the emanators wants to manifest within her or not. Treeby, her utility and willingness to go into combat to protect others and her willingness to sacrifice, we know that she is given so much. I might move her slightly lower because I do think that Robin might have more potential. But I still think that it's fair to give Treeby some love here, because even if she herself doesn't draw the blade and actively goes into a fight, she's encountered more dangerous situations than probably most of the cast. Himeko, navigator of the Express, likely come toe-to-toe with some dangerous situations. She's the reason why the Express is the way it is now. She likely has some combat experience. I do hope we see more from her in the future. I don't feel confident ranking her any higher or lower at present. Silverwolf, she's utility-based within the Stellaron Hunters, not combat-based. But we know she came face-to-face with Screwlum. We know that she can use her hacking for more than just computers. she can affect reality with ether hacking, and it does give her an advantage over certain characters. Misha, it's more so because of what happened with Mikhail and freeing Astana. Gallagher, for the same reason. Cypher/Saphira is for her capability to change reality based on her lies. I think that she was able to give all of Amphorius more time by holding off Lygus and also holding off the end of Kefali's Dawn device in order to give people more time. I don't think you can undersell the power that she had there. Jiaoche, not physically the most powerful going, but his knowledge of poisons is significant. His willingness to do whatever it takes to protect the people he cares about is significant. He poisoned himself to let Hule have a snack and make the huge Borson weak enough to finally be put down. Who also had a plague mark. That's doing a lot. Like, Hule had a gift from the abundance itself that kept him from dying. And this guy was able to hurt him through being crafty. Good on him. Yukong, a soldier who was willing to do some of the most dangerous work we've seen so far. She's traumatized from her own incident where she lost her closest friend and raises her best friend's child as her own. But she was an incredible pilot in her day and has seen disasters that most characters won't have. Yunli, because of her willingness to face Hule and how well she did in that fight, I think it's fair to give her some compliments for that. Yanqing, how well he did against Hule is why he's ranked higher than her. I think he has a long way to go, though. Argenti, he's travelling the cosmos alone. He was involved with our incident where we came across the swarm. He was involved with Penacony, where you could optionally fight him. If you explain the situation to him, he won't fight us. If you don't, he will. It's neat that he respects us enough to just hold off if we tell him the truth. Us, because we're getting the glances of every Aeon going currently, and I think that's significant. Anaxa, his willingness for sacrifice, his knowledge, and him and Cypher being involved with trapping Lygus, an emanator of erudition, goes a long way. Aglaya, she's better combat trained than him. She was taught by Hyselins the way of the sword. We know that she has political prowess. We know how far she's willing to go. Ceredra, this girl, she sacrificed a lot of lives just to get a divine authority that could change the world. She has aspirations for universal conquest. Fair enough, girl, fair enough. And even if she herself might not be the most powerful entity going, she's able to recruit people who are capable of incredible feats, and is able to guide them to do the things she's hoping for. Moza, he's one of the right hands of Fei Xiao, and unlike with Jiaoche, this guy is here as an assassin of the most prolific combat-oriented general of the Xianzhou. It's fair to rank him highly. Ruan Mei, she's here because she reconstructed an emanator of propagation that blew up and that could have been a disaster. The fact she's able to do that worries me. She doesn't need to stab someone if she could create something that can hurt people more. Dan Heng, as a scion of the permanence, he is capable of living far longer than most entities. He's able to undergo hatching rebirth. We know he has innate combat potential. Both because of Dan Feng's achievements and because of his own, we have seen this guy in a fight. We know how hard he will go. I'm looking forward to seeing what his new SP variant can do, though, and if it'll change how I feel. Welt. He has a long history through Honkai at Third as being a savior towards humanity. He protected all of his loved ones. He has seemingly kept every promise he's ever made. He gave up everything in the second eruption, even being reduced to borderline nothing and reconstructing his body from borderline scratch. Yes, he no longer has his Herrscher core, but that doesn't change he's got some power over other things beyond what he should be capable of now, including creating a black hole from scratch, which is one of the most devastating forces in the universe. Hysolins, highly combat trained. I'd actually rank her slightly lower than well. I think it's fair to move her slightly down. I think that she's better with a weapon than Dan Heng, but I don't think she's beating a black hole for some reason, even if the ocean is meant to represent the nihility with an Amphoreus. It's not the same as being able to create a black hole. She is highly skilled with a weapon, merciless when she feels it's necessary, highly intelligent, and capable of some feats that I don't think many would have assumed at first. Her siren song can force her opponents into deep slumber, or can hinder what they can perceive. That, against an enemy you want to kill, is quite impressive. Castoris. She has an aura of death emanating around her. It's dangerous to get physically too close to her. And then, as the demigod of death, she can turn into a dragon, because that was clarified in one of the readable notes that's left behind. Near the graves assigned to the Chrysosers from this journey recently, there was a note from her, which mentions that she was going to turn into the dragon. So she is capable of incredible devastating power and has an aura of death around her. Mighty. High amounts of combat potential raised in situations involving extreme combat and cannot die, seemingly, unless, aside from one little weak point. Topaz. She is here because I can't factor in what exactly her cornerstone would give her. I think that, based on our understanding of the situation she's been involved with, she is highly calculating, and I think that she could be capable of more than we have seen. So I don't want to ignore her potential. I don't want to move her into question mark because I don't think there's as much unknown about her as there are the other characters that are there, but I'm interested to see what could come of her cornerstone. Sparkle. In Acheron's trailer, she created an illusion of the Stellaron hunters to fight Acheron, and Acheron believed it was real before she destroyed the illusion. That's significant. Black Swan. She was willing to dive into Acheron's memories and almost risk her own life. And then the Emanators of Remembrance. Their capabilities are a mixed bag. Based on what we know, though, only a little bit of Memoria could cause someone severe brain damage, so I would not put it past her to be capable of some highly concerning stuff if she had that amount of malicious intent. Herta. She's an emanator of erudition, who has saved multiple worlds. Yes, she might not have exactly the best combat potential in the lore, but I don't want to undersell her. Boothill. He's a Galaxy Ranger, and the Galaxy Rangers make it their business to go around destroying any forms of evil in the cosmos. That includes even facing off against the IPC. He has strong morals, is clearly good with a weapon, and I'd say it's fair to put him kind of up on this level. Rapper. She is physically and mentally more capable than Boothill. The one quote-unquote issue with her is the mimetic virus she's infested with, but it also acts as a protection against other mimetic viruses. She's less able to be influenced than other people in this list as a whole. Kafka. She is able to subliminally control others with the simple command of listen, is incredibly good with a gun, is involved in many significant events, and has the highest wanted reward of all the characters we've seen from the IPC. Firefly. She was a part of Glamoth's unit and killed countless bugs, as she should. and now is an active force of destruction for when Elio, the Stellaron Hunters, or Destiny's Slave want to get rid of a problem. She's the one they typically seem to send. And she does her job well. Blade. The reason he's ranked above the other Stellaron Hunters at present is he cannot die. Except for, like, under extreme circumstances. Like, for example, if the star weren't to implode, or if he was thrown into a black hole, then he'd die. But outside of that, good luck, because he's afflicted by Shuhu, an emanator of abundance's corpse, melded kind of into his own body, while he and Dan Feng were trying to save and return Bai Heng. It failed, in a sense, but it made this guy an abomination who was Mara-struck as a result, but also unable to die. Aventurine possesses a cornerstone, so he possesses part of the authority of an emanator of preservation, and we saw him utilize that authority to fight against Acheron. He lost, but he still fought, so good for him. Jing Yuan, potentially an emanator of the hunt, but we don't know yet. But he is a general of the Xianzhou, which is one of the biggest organizations in the cosmos, biggest factions, and they actively seek combat with the Abundance. And even before he became general, he was a part of the High Cloud Quintet, just like Blade and Darnheng were, and just like Bai Heng was, but she's not technically on the list, and just like someone marked higher than he is. And they were known for significant feats, including being an emanator of abundance. Jade possesses a cornerstone, has lived far longer than both Aventurine and Topaz based on her in-game lore. She is likely capable of more than we've seen, and she clearly keeps her cards close to her chest. I might move her slightly beneath Jing Yuan for the sake of balance, but I do think that she has some potential that concerns me. Jing Yuan could move up the list depending on what's confirmed about the generals and if they are truly emanators of the hunt. Sunday was able to manifest an emanator of the harmony within himself, and actually overturned Qingque to bring back Enna. That's quite the feat, because Aeons are the most significant existences we know of in Star Rail's lore. Jingliu, involved with killing an emanator of the Abundance, is actively seeking to kill the Abundance themselves, has outpowered multiple concerning entities, including Hule, which is how they caught him in the first place. She has left both legends and scars upon the Xianzhou as one of their most powerful warriors. That's a lot coming from the Xianzhou. Fei Xiao, she is a general who is the most combat oriented based on what we know, and has done some incredible feats herself, like besting Hule and inheriting his gift from the Abundance to fix her own issues now, unintentionally, but is also a symbol for the Xianzhou of the sort of power that they strive for and the sort of feats they want to accomplish. I want to see her and Jingliu fight, so I can decide which of those two should rank higher. For now, I'm going to rank Fei Xiao higher because of her plague mark that does make her more powerful, in a sense. But the fact that Jingliu is ranking that high on her own strength alone while Mara struck is a feat. S rank, all of them are likely emanators. The only reason I say likely is because we don't have confirmation for March/Evernight yet, but I'd be highly surprised if she wasn't. Evernight manipulated the situation in Amphoris to our advantage, completely bypassed Lygus, is able to fill the area with jellyfish, and jellyfish aren't notoriously very nice creatures. They are capable of performing some extreme harm upon anything that goes near them. And she could just summon seemingly endless amounts of them, because in the path space, we saw a bunch of them there. I wonder if there could be more of them. And then there's also the way that six-phase ice works. It's condensed memoria, seemingly. And even before March awakened to Evernight, seemingly, she has always had strong influence over memoria. It was established in Penacony in the Dreamweaver Academy, where we were creating things on the wall. She was said to have an innate talent for it. And now, we're in a world that could be mostly comprised of memoria. It's heavily impacted by the remembrance. And here she is, being depicted eating it in a trailer. Fenon, he scratched the face of an Aeon. He fought Zephyro, who is one of the most powerful entities we actually know of so far in Star Rail. He might have lost, but he still fought. Good on him. Acheron, the only reason I'm ranking her higher than Fenon is because I think she has a better matchup against Zephyro. I think that what Fenon did in his animation is more than what we actually saw Acheron do, due to the nature of what happened. Scratching an Aeon's face is a lot. But this girl does aim on trying to deal with the nihility. And she did completely resist the Order. Order's dream didn't affect her at all because of her influence as an emanator of nihility. And I don't see many things being able to survive a black hole. Hopefully, my ranking makes sense to people and you had fun with this silly list. Let me know if you'd change the order of some of these characters. If not, fair enough. If so, let me know why. I'd love to have a chat about it. I cannot wait to see how this girl gets moved, if she does at all. But there's only one way to find out. Tomorrow's the special program. I'm all in. I cannot wait to get her home too. Let's go. But until next time, which will be tomorrow, have a good night, morning, day, whatever time it is, wherever you guys are in the world, and take care of yourselves. Bye.